Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Today is the 25th of January 2014. The situation with Fukushima and the accident which has happened in the Daiichi nuclear power plant has gone beyond the control. We have tried to negotiate with International Atomic Energy Authorities and TEPCO, the owners and the operators of the nuclear reactor, in trying to find a way that we can allow a new method of approach to start, that it can help the Fukushima people, not only the farmers, but the environment, and at the same time the contamination in the sea. The reality is there is a simpler way to extract nuclear materials from the land and from the sea and from the water contamination. This is an unknown technology which has been in the possession of the Keshe Foundation for years. And for the first time, we have decided to release it public, as we said in our mandate of 2014 roadmap. Priority is Fukushima, and through Fukushima, we open new technologies. The situation which we are going to explain and the methods is for the farmers themselves to be able to help themselves individually or as a collective. The cost to decontaminate does not run into less than maybe €1,000. Less than $1,000. You can help yourself. And as this contamination is going to be continuous, so you can repeat the same thing every year before you cultivate. You can clean the water on a regular basis. At the same time, the technology will be explained how even TEPCO can clean up the new contamination waters which are arriving in the station every day. The story of this new technology is very much the way we saw with what I call in the contaminations of the waters around Northern Europe too. So this technology can be used further on for land contamination and water contaminations around the world. We start to explain the fundamentals and then we go through it step by step. If we consider every element to be like a plasma, and that's how the shape of a plasma is. Earth, the sun, the moon, but different shape of it, different size of the plasma. What has happened, if we call, for example, this plasma, the plasma of cesium, or this plasma of another nuclear material or another contamination, each one has a certain dimension and certain amount of energy, which we explain energy as gravity and magnetic field. So once we measure the gravitational field, magnetic field, and the energy of the element, then we can easily understand how these things can be moved and extracted. One of the main points to understand about the work of the Keshe Foundation is that we are a space technology development. What this means, we have not developed this technology for Fukushima. We have not developed this technology for decontamination around the Earth. We have developed this technology to be able to capture these packages of magnetic gravitational fields in the space, to be able to produce food or material in deeper space. As it says, we are very much involved in development of the man in the space and not the production of material for earthly use. In the space, we can't carry all the food and all the materials with us. So we have developed a technology where we can convert the energies, which we call gravitational and magnetic field, into matter. So what has happened? Now we're converting this technology into the use on Earth because of the application and the situation in Fukushima. According to the Japanese government, today there is over 145,000 dislocated people due to Fukushima. And these are going to be dislocated, they're going to be moved, they cannot come back to their lands for maybe 10, 20, 30 years, or if they come back, there'll be problems as we see. The same problem we see in Niger, where the uranium mines are, and we see a lot of contamination, where most of the nuclear materials of French government arrives, and the local people are getting destroyed very badly through harm, through the uranium contamination and other radioactive materials, which is airborne in the dust. So this is not just application for Fukushima. Let's go through this step by step. What has happened in Fukushima is that tons, we estimate about 160 tons of highly radioactive material, uranium, plutonium, and others, have literally blown into the air. And what they've done, they have contaminated and mixed within the soil. It has come in a very simple way, and further on, they have mixed themselves into the water. They are part of the structure, and they sit there as energy packs. They sit there as material, what we call radioactive material. What has happened now is that this water, contaminated water, has mixed itself with more radioactive material, new compositions with the water. So what we received is a mixture of two: more radiation, more materials. And this story will carry on for years to come. But the whole contamination, the whole process, all these materials can be extracted very easily. We do this in a space. Now we are showing it how it can be done in a very easy way by the farmers.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 567th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 5th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I will be host once again in this weekly series of wonderful workshops. And once again, we have the pleasure of having Mr. Mehran Keshe ready to go to present yet another teaching here. Number 567, Mr. Keshe, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual. Wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, we welcome you back. And as usual, we try to add to the knowledge. I just watched this intro and it brought me huge amount of what they call surges of memory. Fukushima and the rest and everything else. And this is just coincidental. Rick chooses these intros without me knowing and says, today we're going to get this. And I said, that's nearly what we're going to talk about in the technology of today. If you look at this video, it talks about gravitational magnetic plasmas, or what we call the plasmas, possess both and in motion, creating energy. In the space, we only receive fields. And if we want to create, divide, add to the fields, to its strength, to create it in different stages to be, we need to understand the process of manifestation. We need to understand the process of, in a way, conformation to not us, not to our sensory system, but to the sensory of our, what we call, dimension of the energy which we travel with. There's no use you being in the space and you talk about property or effects of a field where who you're talking to is not aware of it. What does this mean? If you, in your magnetic field strength, observe a field in motion, which could be danger to you, how do you transfer this knowledge, this information of danger to another entity which is with you? You're talking to or traveling with, or it could be your wife, your son, your neighbor, somebody else from the position in the universe. How do we connect? How do we understand, feel the strength? That, for example, this field of strength in my presence could be danger to me, but it's a benefit to them. In me trying to get rid of it or move it to another position can create harm to the one who needs it. Part of the work of the communication in the universe, universal level, as is on this earth, has to be understood. In the world of the man, we have created languages, signs, colors, smells and reactions and emotions. How does our body reacts to the smell, emotion, and the colors? Why, when we see blood or red light or loud noise, we react physically? Every cell in our body gets alerted. How do we convert the noise, the color in the physical dimension to the reaction in our cell of, let's say, your kidney, your liver, your organs in your body? Why do we get our hair raised out of a fear? We see a lion, we see an animal, we see something, we are in danger and become alert. And how do we transfer? How have we managed to transfer emotion to physical reaction and to reaction in the dimension of the ganses of the cell of the body? We never understood this. We have a lot of theories, a lot of papers and books is written, but in fact, it's field transfer. That red carries an energy that in essence, in a physical dimension is red, but in energy level has a common denominator field with our senses, with our field strength in our soul or soul of physicality or physicality of the man, which does not consider the color, does not consider anything which we observe physically. In a way, has the line of communication. In the body of the man, we use carbon-12 for line of communication. In the universe, we use carbon-14. In communication in a physical dimension, where is carbon-13? Why do we go from carbon-14 to carbon-12? But we never discussed the intermediary energy level. This is what I explained last time, that between the atoms, what we call between the hydrogen and helium, there are many isotopes which we never understood. Now, when it comes to understand the conversion between the universal connections through the carbon-14, which we call the carbon-14, but it's an energy level. It needs to step down, that when it steps down to carbon-12, which becomes physical of man, there is a communication, there's a line, there's isotopes of energy that allows us to, in a way, communicate with our physical dimension. Is intermediary energy level. It's the line that, in a way, all creatures of the universe connect to. It's a line that is common denominator knowledge to all races who understand the work of the universe. For us, we need to come to carbon-12, or energy of the plasma, that the carbon can communicate between every cell or body of the man. We do not communicate with outside through this. It's a different, otherwise we would have been part of us. But there is a line of connection that we all understand, what we call environmental communication. It felt, it feels, communicates with our senses, which has no dimension of physicality, but in a way transfers energy, receives energy, gives energy to us in a form of communication. It's no use me transmitting radio frequency in a FM when you only have an AM on your system. We have to find somewhere that we all communicate through it, we all understand it. In a way, if you understand, if you go to another level, carbon-12 belongs to humanity, belongs to the dimension of physicality. Some creatures in the universe might have a carbon-11 energy. We are not talking about the structure of atom with electrons and protons. We're talking energy level with common denominator, behaving as connector, communicator. In another position could be carbon 8, but behaves as a communicator in that level. But in the universal communication line, carbon 14 is fixed. All interplanetary, all systems work on an energy level round about carbon 14 energy. We are not talking about carbon 14 as an atom. Now, we need to have that we all come into a level that all creatures, all living things break down to, and from that they step down to in energy level. In a way, a transformer, in a way, an energy breaker, in a way, a communication level, in a matter state, in an energy state, conformation of the existence. This is part of where mankind needs to open a new door in knowledge, science, of deciphering, connecting with its environment. I'm blind. In my structure of life, from another dimension of the universe, eyes don't exist. But I can feel the magnetic field, the strength of a danger, what we call in the life of the man, red light. How does that happen? Internally, my body is communicating itself with carbon 12, plasmatic level. But externally, I need to connect with the dimension of the fields that it matches. And if it doesn't match, I don't feel. I have no connection to. Then we come to understand that in the world of the man, we use voices, signs to indicate our condition, emotion, or whatever. Then we have another step in between the two, between the universal connection and man, a physical connection, and a connection with man's environment that everything communicates with and we tap into. In the process of understanding, if it can be explained maybe in a different language, is that when you hold a coal in your hand, do you feel the energy of it, or is it just a matter? Or can you go up to what we call intermediary energy level, which you have and the coal has, and then understand what that coal does, what energy carries, body needs, what I want. It becomes easier for knowledge seekers in the future to do this. You have heard me many times in the teachings, and outside, if you have worked and been around me in the labs, I tell you, when I put ganses on my hand, I can taste it in my mouth. And sometimes for me, it's impossible to hold ganses because the energy level of them is too high or creates a certain emotion in me. I don't like the taste of certain ganses by just holding them. Not in a plastic, but in my hand, which means there is no blockage. Many of you who've been around me when I hold ganses, I just can't hold, I have to let them go. I taste it. It has converts the communication line of energy to carbon 12 energy, to emotion, to a feeling, to a taste I know. This is what we call intermediary line of communication between all matters, all created things. We have our own life communication line on carbon 12. We have We have converted it into all sorts of things which we can. In the world of science, now you use carbon in addition for different colors in food additives. We know this science. Now we have to understand a carbon level, a communication level that is common denominator between us and what we call matter detectable energy pattern in the universe. This is something that we have to learn. This is a process that we have to become aware of and be trained for it. It is within us, but we have ignored it. This is how when we come to space, we recognize another entity. We don't have eyes in the dimension of the soul. We don't have ears in the dimension of the soul. But that level explains to us, I'm here, I exist. This is my needs. This is what I would like to give. This is what I'm looking for. In a way, common denominator, universal language. It's very much, I explained this to some scientists years ago. You come from the village, you speak your dialect. You go to town, people speak the language of a nation. And then we go to United Nations, we speak the English which all others understand. This is the same in the dimension of life. CO2, carbon in our body is that local language in the village we speak. It's the strength field which communicate in our own village. The world of existence, the city, has its own language. And then when we go to the bigger place that the whole mankind understands, we speak a language that everybody else understands, we call it carbon 14, communication. It is very interesting that how man has chosen, maybe in the ease of language, carbon and connection, which is C. This is part of the structure of the existence. This is part of understanding the communication language that for us can bring that dimension. This is what we have to become aware of. Then, in a way, you can carry a kilo of plutonium 100% enriched in your hand, but through the communication of line, you connect that you are there, I have nothing to do with you, I just carry you for whatever purpose. I don't need your energy. And then you understand a lot of things, how things work. My body is immune to nuclear materials. We know that from 1980s when I came in touch with nuclear material. I can carry plutonium in my hand, plates of uranium in my hand with no effect. Have I established that line of communication that I don't need so it does not damage? It does not absorb by the carbon-12 level. This is what mankind has to understand. This is how we will recognize other entities in the universe which are still in the dimension of the energy and have no physical matter entity. Is you traveling in the dimension of your soul. And this communication line is needed, is need to be understood. This is a field strength, magnetic gravitational field strength, which is the common denominator that every entity in the universe communicates to. Carbon 14 is for connection. Carbon 13, you call it, is for communication, understanding, common language in a world that has no language that man has made for himself. A dark box. A man uses sword. A cow meows. Man in a space might go whoosh. But when the dark box, we know we need something. When the cat meows, we know it's something. We have to understand what the whoosh is, how it communicates. We understand it on the level of our soul of physicality. We are aware of it. We have been educated by it. In so many ways, in the world of the man, they call it the third eye. But we never understood. It's the second level communication line. It's very much like your skin level. You have the line connected to outside, which you feel. You have a middle that connects the outside to inside, and you have inner inside, which connects holes to what's inside. The same applies in conformation of the energy. That through that middle level, which is mainly the dimension of the emotion, we communicate. This process, in the coming time, as we develop, as we are aware of it, will be used in communication systems like robots. AIs will make a huge, what we call, implication application of this knowledge. The world of science of communication today, what you call AI, is not aware of it. What does this bring us into the process? Emotion. This knowledge sits within the Keshe Foundation and is part of our work, upcoming work with the world governments. You have an AI. If you don't give it the emotion, you cannot get it work. And in the upcoming time, in our negotiations, this part of the emotion which can be added to computers, can be added to what we call application of integration of the totality, will give emotion to the system. Which means we can create systems, computers, which are benefited by true emotion, not programmed emotion. This comes in the matter and forms of energy packs, which is part of our knowledge. It sits embedded in the structure of the Keshe Foundation work from the beginning. Transfer of emotion. In teachings, I've taught this in a hidden way, and I've spoken in the past 2 or 3 years openly with those who are concerned with electronics and computers. We need to give emotion. Our system need to have emotion to be able for us to communicate in a correct way. You see robots, you see all sorts of things in the exhibitions. They serve you, but they don't understand you because it's programmed. Nowadays, you go in most of the restaurants around the world, waiter doesn't exist in some of the major restaurants. The tray comes to you, this is your food, and that's it. You take your plate off the tray and the robot disappears. There is a knock on your door, you open up, there is a robot delivering the package from downstairs. There is no one knocking on the door, a man to give you. But when the man knocked on the door, there was an emotion to it. Thank you very much. This is your package. Now, a robot comes, delivers, and goes. We need to bring the emotion into dimension of the what we call AI. We have to. Otherwise, it'll be detached from us. It'll become a way that has no connection with us. We need this in the system controls of the future in the space technology when we travel with the physical dimension. It becomes part of the process. Emotion in the systems, what they call the microchips of today, will change the whole understanding of the structure of the work of the electronics. And this comes as part of the structure embedded within it. It has to be within the material they use, that emotion exists within it. This is part of the knowledge which we open up slowly as man is ready to understand chips with emotion, microsystems, AI system with emotion, and this is to understand the work of carbon-13. How you connect emotion into systems. How we understand the emotion of another entity in the universe. Does not have carbon-12. We cannot physically touch it. It's an energy, but alive, has emotion. How do we keep separate from it? This is part of what is to come. This is part of the teachings, maybe 5,660, and the rest of it. But we have to build the intellect. We have to build the understanding. We need to bring our processes to that level that is not put in, is built in, is part of. We are not born with liver and heart and everything and no emotion. The second we are born in the womb of the mother, we have emotion. We feel the pain of the mother. We show our pain. We show our discomfort. We come out, we cry, we shout. From the second we are born, we are not happy, we are hungry, we cry, we get everything. Now we have to understand the conversion of that emotion to a line of communication with all entities. Carbon-14 use takes you anywhere in the universe, but does not let you communicate. It's an energy level. In fact, there's no carbon to it. It's easy to identify it as carbon, as connection 14 is much more convenient. And connection 12 is within the human body, within the structure of the amino acid of the life of the, what we call dynamic life of this planet. And energy 13 is common denominator with all. Then we understand the cat, we understand the dog, we understand everything in the universe, because we need to understand that line of communication. We say the guy can communicate with the horses. No, he has the line into the communication line, which is what we call carbon-13, which itself has a spectrum band, is not a single line band, that everything falls in it. We feed it, we tune it, we are there. You heard about the story of the horse whisperer in the movies. I have met one of our oldest knowledge seekers is what I call the horse whisperer. He touches the animal and the animal heals. With a very, very few subtle touches, he cures horses. He's paid huge amount of money by the Middle Eastern, Arabian horse keepers. They ship him in and out of Europe to heal their horses. He's one of the very original knowledge seekers. World famous, whatever you call him, for his work. When he touches you, he doesn't manipulate you. He just touches, transfers energy, information just through his fingers. Because some of us have learned this, but in a way we do not know how to control it. Because to us it's coincidental, to us is something there we don't know. But now we know we can connect. We can connect through this spectrum of energy with every being in the universe. Communication line, not the connection line. Once man understands the power of the plasmatic, what we call energy communication, In a way, it's like you having a microphone in one end and the other one having the speaker. One is gravitational and one is magnetical. And a slight deviation specifically connects it to him, not to the one next to it. You have different creatures from different point of universe as friends, the way you have Italian and German friends sitting on the table, but you all communicate in English. You have mankind is ready to come into that position to have friends from different part of the universe. You want to tell a joke to this one, but you don't want the one sitting next to it to understand. You use that carbon-13 bandwidth of him and not the other one. It's part of our brain. We know this very clearly. In a human life, the one which we connect to in that dimension of emotion, we call it soulmate. Because we have managed to connect at that level of common denominator energy, not the dimension of physical carbon-12. What I talk about is not something new, a revolution, evolution, something you never knew. You have it all the time. You crave for it to find your soulmate. You crave for somebody to understand you. My dog understands you without understands you, without me telling him anything. You created that energy communication at the level of the carbon-12 level with the communication line. In a way, you hung the clothes on the dry rack and is passed on and picked up on the other side. This is the knowledge of the creation. This is a knowledge we have. And if mankind is to move into a total optimization, especially the way we are heading at, we need to bring emotion into our system. But we have to understand the fabric of the world. We have to understand the intellect of the world. We have to understand how emotion is created in the dimension of energy, how it shows in the dimension of the plasma of the body of the man, how it transmits across different entities. If we can, and the dog or the stone or whatever has that line of communication with us, that we work on that common denominator level, so we should be able to connect it, to develop it, to control it within the new structure of the man-made systems, what we call computers. In a way, we have to enter a new dimension of materials. Materials with their fields which can communicate, not just materials connected through lines of the pins and wires. Part of this sits within the structure of the Maghreb system we have taught you. You have to be wise how to use it. You have to understand the process of using it. Go back on the skin of the man, look at the Maghreb system, and you see the knowledge sits there. We have to understand how in the process of communication we bring emotion. What does emotion means? In essence of the energy, not in essence of the reaction of the man to a situation. But be it in a physical dimension, be it in the emotional dimension. We hear a lot about the relationship between the man and woman and how they connect to each other physically and whatever. How do we sense another person? How do we feel a plant, a tree, an animal, a stone? Mankind needs to understand this process. The way we see the knowledge expanding, computers and communication, the way we see it today will become obsolete very soon. chips, controlling of microchips will be non-existent. We will see a dynamic flowing system, very much like what you've seen in book 3, as a combination of ganses. The structure of the loose materials interconnecting, creating emotion and instruction, very much like the brain of the man. Embedded within it, emotion, even it creates structure of the physicality. In Baleta, in the last months of being there before we close, we start building this brain with one of the knowledge seekers. Then that could tell us we can build a dimension of physicality and emotion within it. Now you understand how mankind will break into the space technology of the future. How mankind has no option but to consider the new dynamic systems of what I call intelligence, what you call computer microchips, which are fluid, very much structured, the same as the brain of the man. Even our brain, due to its solid structure, in a way, gel structure, limits the expansion of totality of understanding the whole energy structure of the universe. If we could liquidify the brain of the man as it is and allow it to work in a dimension of the connection according to the intermediary energies, the body of the man will behave different. We will never commit crime. We never get ourselves in a position of danger because we are aware of all lines of communication within the level of the environmental condition we live in, or the rest of it. We are worried about the hurricane, we are worried about the storm, we are worried about something on this planet. We haven't entered the universe to see the hurricanes of the universe, which is plasmatic field only, and there is no matter state. We are scared when we see the hurricanes of magnetic field from the sun directed to the earth. This is nothing a child play, but if you could understand the emotion of the sun, the emotion of understanding the field connection, we could have done a lot, we can do a lot, that these energies become part of the structure used by us, not by damaged by us, or damaged to us. In the process of development of this technology, we bring in new knowledge, new breakthrough in understanding the fields which connect man to other physical matter entities on the line of communication, not in the line of connection. You travel on a jet, but you speak in the jet in the language with the others. Carbon 14 is that jet. Communicating and living is that carbon communication line, what I call carbon 13. And you are the living thing, which is the passenger, which is the carbon 12. Now, that level of communication opens the full, what I call universal language for man to communicate with others, but feel them in their emotion, their needs and the energy, and not to see a man, how tasty he is, how are the creature good to eat. Is not an orange, is not an apple, is an entity life with full intellect, children and offsprings, and being an offspring of the others like a human race is not for you to eat. This is why we start running these sessions of this quarter terms of last month, this month and next month. And as we hear from the trials of last, what we call November session, many of you have touched the position of not eating, tapping into universal energies. That it has brought you fear that how can I not eat or whatever with 2-3 days, a week, a month? The last month trial has opened our eyes to a lot of ways that you knowledge seekers who've gone through the sessions now gradually looking into. We've seen it in the testimonials. People who haven't eaten for a week, and they feel when they tap into the energy. We have people who seen energy going in their body, they feel it as they need it. Do I need to eat the apple, or do I taste the apple by creating an emotion of the apple in me? Where emotion itself is part of that communication line of carbon-13. Has nothing to do with the manifestation of physicality. This is why you feel the emotion of the grandma, how she felt when you went for dinner. In your dream time, the travel of the space-time energy, which we talked about last time, the grandma you said and ate with, uses that line of communication energy, which is common between, targeted between you, the food, and the place and the position. And when you come back, you have the memory of it in condition of physicality. Understanding this line of communication, understanding the new plasma technology, and understanding to create emotion within the structure is necessary for us, especially when it comes to the space development. You create a condition which builds a craft, which is very much like body of the man. You don't want to slam yourself in the middle of a pack of herds, or in the middle of a pack of people standing, or run drive yourself, body hit yourself into a glass. Because you have emotion. You know how what the damage will be done to you if you hit yourself a herd of animals with your body, how it feels if you hit other people with it, or you hit the glass. Our system, our flight system, has to understand ahead of me is life, is collection of lives. I cannot go and hit just to go through it because I want to. The system is not just a flying system, it's a system with emotion. This is now you understand why we explain about the AIs that need emotion. In the dynamic, plasmatic, what we call future plasma computers or chips, this is part of the structure of. You thought, oh, show us the flight system. We go, flight system has to have its own emotion, has to have its own understanding and energy in respecting life with people who accept the responsibility of within it and those outside it. We have to understand the knowledge, the intellect of the universe and ourselves, and then structure it that way. Go back to book number 3. Look at the section where we speak about the gases, and look at the bottle sideways. And I explain the gases set in different layers, and you see different color gases separated in different layers. That is the future of what we call space computers, microchips. There is no line of connection. There is no separation, but all within. And the word in the book, when I put it in, I said, one day I explain what it means if they don't understand it. Maybe today is that day. Separation in plasmatic magnetic fields you call gases is the essence of intellect, is the essence of emotion. And once man learns how to separate gases, create them, how to move them, and not even with like a body of the man in the brain fix the position, then you understand the beauty of the creation, and when the doors opens up to the knowledge of the universe. If you have the book number 3, just go and find a picture, and then you understand. Hidden in that picture is the structure of the future computers. It's a structure of the creation of the systems with emotion where gases don't mix. And if you understand the implication of it, that's what it means. That mixing creates a condition of communication, and in that communication, respecting position, as we always said, you put magnets together, they find their position because what they're accommodating each other, they communicate each other. This is a good place for me. That communication can be created to be as a strength field of the emotion. Then you understand creation of the new, what we call plasma chips, is on the card. You've seen the first one in the book, released 10 years ago. But you have to learn how to tap to this. And what field energy to use. What it means to work in a level of energy, what it means to work in the energy of matter. That you can excite, increase, decrease the fields of the emotion. I made man in the image of myself. Then you understand this is the way the creatures and the creators work on the same level. The time for man to integrate the whole three levels of the life as a man, as an intermediary, and as the universal has come. But it's for man to understand more and more. As I said very recently to one of our knowledge seekers, you're waiting for Mehdi. When he comes, he brings peace, he brings honey and everything else. That the lamb and the lion live in the same nest. There will be no more wars. The Mehdi of this time is the knowledge, not the man. The knowledge of understanding the energy fields of the universe. Then you understand the pain of the lamb, the beauty of the creation of the universe, and the knowledge of the creation. For those of you who are looking for Mehdi as a man, you're so misguided. Because the man only can affect the man, not connection of the man with the rest. The Mehdi of this time is the knowledge. The knowledge most of you possess, and you have learned through the language of the Keshe Foundation. Has no physicality. And it goes and it stays according to your understanding. How you save yourself and how you make life better for others. The teacher is carrier of the knowledge, but not the possessor of the knowledge. It's you in what you do with that knowledge, which creates that phantom of the promised time. If we all come to that point, we have managed to break into the layers of the structure of life in every dimension. Below human level energies and above human energies, but all the same line of communication, the same intellect. Try to understand today's teaching, and then you understand you've been given the key to the life in the universe. We go for a break, come back, maybe we find answers in the questions. Rick, if you take us for a break, we come back.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Let's see here. Get my ads together. I've got an intermission ad I can play here. And thank you, everyone, for being present in our 567th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And as Mr. Keshe mentioned, we'll take a break and then be back with the second half, which people here in the Zoom will have an opportunity to raise their virtual hands and ask a personal question from Mr. Keshe. And you can also put your questions into the chat or the Q&A in the Zoom and also in the YouTube chat as well. Okay, be back shortly.
Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
Okay, back again. Going to keep it to a short intermission today. Hope that's okay with you, Mr. Keshe, and you're ready to go with our second part here.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Try to understand the first part teaching. Open the door to a lot of things that needs understanding, and then it brings you new, what we call horizon, and opens up. This is part of the World Peace Program which we are involved in bringing the governments and making the old technologies obsolete, that they all start working from the same hymn sheet, as we call it. As we saw and we see on the pictures of the background of today's session, totally coincidental. Today, the Keshe Foundation has launched, as we promised last week, in request especially from some of our German friends who feel, and people in Eastern Europe, the possibility and the dangers of what might come up. And as we have always led the industry in this way, Keshe Foundation has launched 2 new products in a way to perceive or to, in a way, be ready if you need it. We have introduced a filtering powder material for filtering any what we call extra energies which might appear in the environment or in the water, or for the purpose of recycling energies which might appear as any kind of line of attacks by any nation. At the same time, we have introduced a new material in which with it to be more compatible as before we did this when we launched the systems with Corona. If you remember, we introduced the suiting that you could use to, in a way, change condition of the Corona. This new suits with the new material which is launched today, which gives you the possibility of using these in the case of what we call absorbing extra energies that you might or it might appear in your environment unknowingly or by introduction by other governments for certain purposes. And these two new products for what we call, as we saw with Fukushima and with Corona, is there, it's been launched today. The powder can be mixed with any water, any liquid, and you let it to settle down to the bottom, absolute bottom. And then you have what we call more or less a clear field energy. And this, you can reuse it all the time. It's not that you have to pass it through, as it's a plasma, is applicable to the totality. And the same is for the suit. The suit is a gift from the foundation and is limited stock. Those who order, they'll get the suit. They're just going to say, you don't order the suit to get the material, you order material. And if you need the suit, if you already have the suit, leave it for somebody else to benefit by it. Say, I don't need the suit. You add the material into the suit, and as normal condition, you embrace yourself with it, and then you have all the facilities to be done. The absorption of the energy is the name of the game, and is in a way the mixture which we have used for Fukushima. It is not something new. And is partially that characteristic mixture, and it's been done as an interactive, what we call GANs, which means it interacts with active, what we call energies, and it's the same interactive powder, which is a filtering. And it's not a filter system, but it's an energy absorption system. We are fully aware of this situation, and as we say, we're on 12 o'clock, not 11:59, and it looks like it, if it goes, pushes, it might be there, or we might walk away from it in a different way. We have to understand the position and the condition we are in and we create because of. In a coming time, in the next few weeks, we launch another series of new materials that we said that it brings our position. We will release materials for what I call, as I explained today, systems with emotion. How you can even use your present computers to bring condition of emotion to it. These materials is not something we're going to develop, it's already developed, and it will be used by the Keshe Foundation extensively to bring or create an intermediary session between the communication computer systems we have today and the ultimate one, which is the plasma conditions in the future. We'll learn and we release these, and you already have part of this set up in the past in the Keshe Foundation structure.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe, did you want me to show a picture? There was a picture from Dean with nuclear disaster. Is that a part of what you would like to show, or a picture from the store? I couldn't
It's
find.
a store, there's a bottle, and it's called Interactive, I think. It's just a bottle on its own.
Has it been posted to the store?
Yes, yesterday, I just seen it, you passed it. And there is one that's called Filtering. It should be there. And if it's not, it should be posted. But I think I've seen the one you just got. It's on the top as a bottle, and white bottle on its own. This Interactive and Filtering, one of those.
Let's see this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there is a filtering with it as well, with the same product range. This is just to be safe and to be as part of the structure. And these materials, as they're already available in stock, we try to ship it immediately out before Christmas for those of you who order. But the availability of the suits is on what we have available that we can ship. We always give us two options if one size doesn't apply to the other. If it's in the stock, we try to match it with yours. And once it's finished, then there is no more what they call suits available when stock runs out. The teachings from now on will take in two different dimensions, one political, one diplomatic, and one knowledge. We try to connect our system with our present negotiation, which goes on to enlighten the diplomats, the politicians, and the knowledge seekers at the same time. As of today, as you are aware, we know today, administration, the American administration, the Chinese, and the Iranians, and the French, and the British are online. We see them, we know them, and they're listening tentatively to what is discussed in knowledge. We try to add sessions in the coming time for diplomats to speak their words in respect to the new technology. We try in next months to bring people who have a voice in the world of diplomacy to tell us in their words what they do. Keshe Foundation has opened a new channel in X for communication with world leaders. We will release this in a short time, where you can join in and you can make your comments. You can let the world know how you feel with the new technology as knowledge seekers. We have started tentatively, openly posting things for the what we call world leaders, and very soon we'll specifically allow a channel for this line of communication. In a way, what we used to have as a forum for Keshe Foundation years ago, and still there, we use X as a forum for the Keshe Foundation teaching. We'll post the link on the chats, where we try to gauge and involve the world leaders and scientists in that game, in that structure. And then you can all register and just become a follower and follow the system and technology and pass it on to other knowledge seekers. We have some 75,000 rand or 75,000 on the Facebook. We want to convert this back. You have to understand is that Keshe Foundation numbers are logarithmically depressed. We know this for a long time, and we have a confirmation of it. So do not pay attention, is 75,000 or 750,000, because even our views are logarithmically pressed down for years because of Keshe Foundation position. We know that, for example, if you know, one of the guys in X found that another guy has more, but because he has a power in the X system, he asked each of the top programmers in the structure to light a logarithmic that whenever I post something, always comes in billions and millions. And we know, we've seen this, even if you watch when the post comes, how rapidly it runs. Do not look at the figures, because deliberate control of manipulation of figures is something we are used to. Our people in China, people in Brazil have seen the numbers, what we see on the digits of the number of visitors does not add up with our numbers, which we read of theirs in the background, which is usually huge by factors, by orders of tens and hundreds. So in the next few days, once we establish our line properly, we open a chat room like a forum type. Now has been approved by X. We received that blue line, which means we are, what you call it, we've been quantified, as I call it. And then we use the X. I use it directly in talking to the world leaders and what we call diplomatic and political talks, in connected to the teachings and the influence of the new technology. We have tested it with quite a good success. We watched it, how it's done, what reaction created in different names. And then we start teaching in that way, in a more dynamic position, that we all have a say in it and we can participate in it. I'll post it up on all the, what do you call it, links of the Keshe Foundations. If you want to join in, register and become a follower, and then we'll see how things take up and take shape. Any other question?
That's excellent, Mr. Keshe. I'm looking forward to a discussion between you and Elon Musk would be a real highlight, I think. But yeah, that's a great platform, and it should be interesting to see what develops from that.
Yeah, because if you remember in 2005, 6 and 2004 and up to 2008, we enlightened a lot of people on NASA chats, NASA forums, to the extent that DARPA got upset. That's why so much technical knowledge at the advanced level is leaked into public forums. And DARPA wrote to us, we have to ban you because you're putting too much knowledge on the internet. And that's how we created the Keshe Foundation Forum, which we were active for a long time. And then since 2014-15, getting involved with others, the forum suffered a lot. But now there is a new technologies, new platforms, which doesn't cost us anything and allows the world to participate. And we'll see what happens and how it builds up. Register yourself into, we'll give you the connection. And we'll try to run it after next week or the week after. And see how you build up, you put your questions, you put your thoughts directly on, as long as it is, what do you call it, respectful, and then doesn't ban our systems. But is mainly targeted for diplomats and politicians, very direct talks in hidden technologies and upcoming technologies.
Right on. I think that might be the way of the future, is we have to have fast communications and quick decision making and that kind of thing. And that's kind of the format for that. It's a lively discussion and a bit hazardous in terms of you have to be transparent and not aggravate people at the same time and so on and so forth. But that's what you're good at, Mr. Keshe, the diplomat.
As
Did someone say
Dr.
recently that you're becoming less of a scientist and more of a diplomat or something?
No, we are
You've always
more
been the
scientists
diplomat.
than before, but don't forget, from young age, I've been brought up in the world of diplomacy and politics as part of my business world. And it's beautiful when you are not in it, but you understand it. And with what you understand, you can facilitate a lot of things. And you see the weaknesses of the others and the strength of the others because you're not prejudiced. And I learned this very, very, very effectively. But some governments, some politicians, and some diplomats try to brand you as one or the other, because then it changes for them to be able to pigeonhole you. I had a great leader or teacher, not a leader but a teacher, in a form of understanding world of the finance of the politics, with Lord Cramond. Bill Cramond, it became like a fatherhead to me in that way, to teach me. And then in the world of world diplomacy economically, I learned a lot from Tiny Rowland. Those of you who know what Tiny Rowland is, being my teacher, or my call it lecturer at the university in master degree, he soon realized what I can do, what I'm looking for. And Tiny Rowland accommodated me to explore that. It was his habit. Tiny Rowland, those of you who know him, he brought in the children of the African leaders and gave them free education in Europe. And because he became like a father figure, he taught them what he wanted from them when they became the leaders of the nations. Read about him. He's a very influential, he's one of the most influential people in the world of 1950s to 1980s. And he gave me that platform, and he taught me that platform. I said, I want to open, to understand, to work in Africa. He said, Mehran, all the West African ports are owned by me. Where do you want to start? I remember when what they call communism as a Russian state broke up. I said to him, I want to open up into subcontinent, satellites of Russia. He said, which country do you want? I said, I would like to work in Kazakhstan. He said, my office is there. Use the office. All I need to do is just get a ticket. I was in the office, tables and everything ready. He said, explore, because I know what you want to do. I had the opportunity given by, or ground made for me by some of the most influential people, just through contact and education. Read about Tiny Rowland. He's a guy who used to be owner of the Harrods. And read about, if you find Cramond family in Scotland, they are the control of the Queen's, or we call it monarchy finances. They hold all the gold. And you learn that the politics and diplomacy is a very, very clear distinction. You never talk about the diplomacy with the politicians, and you never talk about politics with diplomats. And then you understand both of them are controlled with the strings of commerce and trade and money and finance. That's the only common language between both of them. And if you learn that, you can separate the two and work with two without the two interfering in your work. And to that extent, I had the privilege of some of the most top politicians and diplomats training me, teaching me in understanding both sides. Close friends, head of the central banks of nations, and what I call world ambassadors. It's to learn and understand and see which controls what and how everything is controlled, and it's not done by. This is one of the things, for example, you learn is that American Central Bank or your treasury, whatever the bank finances the dollar, is owned by Rothschilds, but the Rothschilds structure of the finance and banking is owned by the Queen of, or King of England. It's a subsidiary of using the power of the, what we call House of Windsor, to influence the finances of the world. In a way, they carry out the bidding of the House of Windsor. Once you understand that system and understand the nitty-gritty of it, then you understand it's very easy to separate the two, but work with both. Any questions?
Well, I was quite enlightening, this idea of diplomats and politicians being separated. I've kind of lumped them together in a way in the past, but I can see there's a big distinction there.
You see, you got to learn, I learned, and I always said very earlier, us businessmen make the politicians. If you want to become a member of parliament, you need money, somebody to support you, to promote you, to advertise, pay for your promotion and everything else, and then you stand in public. Very few politicians come in through the rank of being a mayor or whatever. So politicians are controlled by business people, and you spend $10,000, you get a man to the parliament. It's very easy to do that. You don't need much finances to get a man into parliament to make a politician out of it. Diplomats are different. Diplomats start as a pen pushers in an office. Very few diplomats at a high level have come in through other ways. We see usually, like, let's say, Kennedy's as ambassador to Austria from the United States. They come through the structure of the politics because of their background. But 95% of the world diplomats, ambassadors, consuls, what do you call it, attachés, have come through diplomacy. They come through usually they've done history and literature in universities or politics. Then they work as a civil servants in foreign offices as a junior, and they build up their numbers, or they show some talents, and then they find some connections internally. Then they become consuls and ambassadors and attachés. When you speak to a politician, he is interested to be, what do you call it, to earn what we call money for his retirement. From the beginning, when you do, he looks for the power. The diplomat has already reached the power. You pay 10,000 to make a politician, you pay $1 million to talk to a diplomat. Because when the diplomat reaches that high position, the influence, this is the last stage for him. He could be moved from one embassy to another, but most of the top level ambassadors, like to some major embassies in the world, French, German, London, New York, Beijing, Moscow, Brazil, and India. These are the major, what we call diplomatic high points for ambassador. And to talk to them, to get them to do what you want, because they set their mind, they work a lifetime to get there. They are seasoned diplomats. They understand the diplomacy. They're very expensive to handle. And it's very hard to, what you call, position. But there is a way to get to these diplomats, which you go through politicians, which you go through the foreign office, the people you put as a member of the parliament, to push that to get what you want at the end. It's a game. And when you want to influence the policy on the ground, in the other countries, you work through the, what we call, ambassador, you understand his language of need. He takes you to the foreign office, you see your presidents, and then through there you influence what happens on the commercial side. The successful people as a structure is where they use one for the other and the other one for the other one. And each one has a structure. Each one has a way of dealing and handling and understanding. Some of the knowledge seekers have been with me in a meeting, sitting with the world leaders, world ambassadors, ministers. because they've seen how I lunch, and I usually invite them to, in the country I'm in, the suite for the dinner. Everything is spoken to on the table. And in some occasions, knowledge seekers have been with me, but I trust closely, to sit with the world leaders, the world ambassadors, and they're shocked how human they are. At the same time, because I work with diplomats as with the politicians. It needs training. It doesn't come by accident, and I'm thankful we carry the science, the knowledge, the technology, and everything else that we can link them together. And this is the beauty of the Keshe Foundation. This is where it comes when we put the knowledge to the politician, to the diplomats. The only problem you find in the world is the military. And military people are a different animal, and they have learned that they think because of the uniform they can change things, but they don't understand. Seasoned people like us, we let them loose, but we catch them when we want, and when we catch them, they're a caged bird. And this is the way it comes by experience, 40, 50 years working, and by totally accident and coincidence, partially because of the nature of the education and where I come and the family I come from. These things has been accommodated for me to learn, but I've learned how to use it and how to separate and respect each one. But at the same time, the only things which brings me some arrogance, which I'm aware of it, is my technology and knowledge, because I see it can be a key. But on the other hand, you have to make the others to see the key. I'm sure in the next few months you will see Keshe Foundation is one of the major players in the world of diplomacy. As we are part of it, we are getting more and more involved in it, because we see international policies need international diplomats to bring that with the politicians into operation. It hasn't come the easy way. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of knowledge seekers who work with us in the background understand it, and they do. The silent knowledge seekers you don't hear, but they work relentlessly day and night for keeping the diplomatic line, the political line, the scientific line is enormous. I thank all of you for all the efforts you have made, and you still do. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Now, you've mentioned Africa today, and we know that you've spent a great deal of time, actually, and energy toward that continent. Well, we have two hands up here, and they both happen to have their origin or roots in Africa, specifically in Kenya. One name you know well. Whoops, the hand just dropped out. It was Dr. Gatwa. Are you still there, Dr. Gatwa, or was that an inadvertent hand? No, I don't...
He's back up again. He keeps on coming and going. He might have a problem with his internet.
Yeah,
Back up again.
Okay, there we go. We'll try to nail him down here. And the other person is Dankin, who is a new knowledge seeker. So let me see what Gatwa has to say first, and then if that's involving Dankin, or is it just a coincidence? Go ahead, Dr. Gatwa. If you can, open your mic, that is. Might still be connecting.
No, his microphone is still off.
Okay, well, keep trying there. Gatwa, see if you can get your microphone to open. I can unmute, but I'm not sure if that's... I'll try to unmute and see if that helps. Hello, can we hear you? Your microphone's
Hello,
open.
yes, Mark. Rick, good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, Rick. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Dr. Katwa.
Yeah, that had came up accidentally. It was inadvertent, but at least I got a chance to say hello.
Thank you
Well,
very much.
it seemed like perfect timing, but I've been wrong before, so.
Dr. Gatwa, while you're on the line, I want to ask you a question. We sent someone to you who wanted to learn about the, what do you call it, about the ganses and everything else. Did you have much success with that?
Yes, he came and we started
that's
the training.
the other hand that's up here, Mr. Keshe, is Dankin.
Oh, yeah.
He lives
So maybe
400 kilometers from where I live,
Yes.
about 400 kilometers near Tanzania border, Migori, and he came here. And of course, I showed him what he needed, and we are in contact. Thank you very much for introducing me to him. He's a good guy and very interested to learn.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gatwa, for all your help and support.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Let me open Dankin's microphone. Maybe he can say something in here too. Hello, Dankin. Can you open your mic there? Or is that an inadvertent microphone too? Can you unmute your microphone, Dankin? You'll have to do something at your end there.
Can you unmute it, Dr. Gatwa?
Pardon me, sorry, Mr. Keshe?
Can you open his microphone?
I'm trying to. I'm asking to unmute, but I can't do it directly in this case.
Maybe it's by mistake.
And Mr. Keshe, now that I'm here, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Inadvertent had, but with a question.
Yep.
I would
You're
like to
so
know
new.
what is Yes, I would really like to understand what is happening in the Middle East or in West Asia, as they call it. There are a lot of things happening in Syria right now. Expansion of the terrorism or war, whatever, by whatever name. So what is really happening and what is the likely outcome? Thank you very much.
You touched a very sensitive point. We are observers to this situation. And we are very safe and we are in possession of a vast amount of knowledge and information, which is partially very small, but some of it very sensitive. But in a whole, we are heading towards peace, especially with the new administration in the United States. But is territorial landmarks which has to be or been trying to expand. And primarily what we saw in Syria was the feedback on the back of what we saw in Gaza and in Lebanon. A lot of ammunitions were captured by the Israelis. And these captured arms were sold back to the Americans as part of the payments, because it's the Israelis' asset. And then they was distributed by the Biden family in essentially trading. Those which were Russians were sent to Ukraine, and those which are of the Chinese and other origins or recaptured American arms, which were no use to the Israelis, were given to this group in Syria to start a new cycle. So that's how they suddenly got armed. And suddenly, the day after the signing the thing, it was agreed that the arms will go that way and this will be done. And there's a huge shortage of arms, especially for the what they call the Ukraine side. A lot of Russian armaments, where rockets and everything was captured, which are sold to the Americans, so Americans shipped it to Ukraine to replace the shortage of arms. We monitor this very closely. And because the essence of the finances, again, as usual, those who run the Israeli government took the massive commission into their private accounts from selling these arms. And the same American lot took their cut, and then the Ukrainians came under debts. And so we see this shuffling for 150 days, 60 days till the new administration come into operation. And again, we've seen new moves by the new administration, which wants to see peace. And in a way, there's a catch-22 for the Americans, more than anybody else, is that American military superiority with missiles and the rest, which they have, has been more or less passed by new weapons which are coming in, and the Americans are trying to, by numbers, change the position. And Trump doesn't see that. Trump sees those closing the military factories to stop wars. He hasn't realized he has to create new jobs for these people, and he'll be influenced to start another cycle of something else. And Keshe Foundation is part of this structure trying to stop this next process. We are extremely highly involved in these directions, and we have to wait and see. But primarily, we should see temporary silence of guns in Gaza in the coming weeks. Otherwise, it'll be a huge explosion. Syria was a burst of American trying to bring, but the Russians have stopped. The main headquarters of these people literally is wiped out. Estimated 3,000 to 5,000 have been wiped out of this group. And mercenaries from Italy and England are arriving very fast, trying to restructure. And we have to see how NATO and non-NATO and inside non-NATO NATOs operate. It's a very, very delicate situation in this situation, and Turkey's got trapped in it, where they support this new uprising, they financed it, they paid the Americans for it, weapons for it. But on the other hand, they're trying to come to an agreement with a peace with the Russians, and the Russians were not expected to get involved. They got involved. And all this is the game of Netanyahu trying to bring the big powers to keep busy, keep himself out of prison, putting the Russians in front of the Americans. This guy's a psychopath. So we have to see how this ends up if he stays a prime minister for the next few weeks or months, and when he comes off, how they treat him. As when I was talking to one of the diplomats, said the best solution for Netanyahu is for him to finish himself. Otherwise, they're gonna finish him off. One of the things is the hostages. I have asked our sides to recommend the release of hostages, because that's a solution to it. But we have to see what we can negotiate, and what they have a different structure. You've got to understand the complicity of this situation. A man is trying to keep himself out of prison. A group trying to show that they are empowered to change. There are groups which are testing new weapons and see how it affects. Then you have a group which is fighting with tooth and nail just to be in power. Then they're all in the same bundle called Syria, Israel, Lebanon, and Gaza. And very interesting when you hear from the military in Israel is that we always blame Iran equipping Hezbollah with missiles and they're their proxy. But now with what they realized in attacking the southern Lebanon is that Hezbollah is producing its own weapons. It's not a proxy. And this is one of the reasons Israeli pulled out so fast. And they wanted the peace as much as possible because they thought the Iranians will give it 10,000, 5,000 rockets and missiles. But these missiles were made freshly daily and used directly. This was one of the biggest, what we call, shocks to the Americans and Israelis. That there are no proxies. They are the same with Yemen. Their technology is transferred and they are developing their own. And American has become wise to this, especially Trump has become wise to this. As this proxy business, which promoted by Israelis, like Iranian made having a nuclear bomb using the Keshe Foundation space reactor as on the Israeli television. The man stands there, you showing the Keshe Foundation space reactor, which we all know, and fooled the world as this being Iranian nuclear development for weapons. And it was interesting to see this, and now we see the same game played by him. When the report went to IAEA, I'm sure you as knowledge seekers have seen this, and you've seen picture of Netanyahu standing in front of the Keshe Foundation reactor, space reactor, and claiming it to be what I call a nuclear bomb making system from Iran, where it actually has been, and because people are not knowledgeable with it, they believe the guy. If you look at the pictures of Netanyahu, which went on the national televisions with arrogance of claiming that Iran has nuclear weapons, and then what do you call it, showing the picture of the Iranian nuclear, what do you call it, the space plasma reactor as an Iranian weapon, it's over. This guy has lied, cheated and everything else. And we opened this to IAEA, and IAEA, after checking, confirmed that Netanyahu lies and they don't believe him anymore. If you remember the picture of Netanyahu on what do you call it, on the Israeli television with all the razzmatazz that they've discovered the Iranian what do you call it, nuclear system making weapons. You see, remember this picture? If you are knowledge seekers, look in the archives. On the left-hand picture is the picture of the nuclear, what do you call it, the GANS technology system, where the GANs are separate. And if you look where Netanyahu is pointing at, is a copy of this. He took Keshe Foundation reactor, claimed to be in proliferation and put it in public, and everybody believed him and ran the Americans with it. He's one of the biggest cheats and deceivers of the present time. And I can take out the picture of the inside this reactor distribution of gases, and you see the picture on the left. And all politicians are becoming aware of it. If you just look, you don't see any difference between these two. That's the hand of Mr. Keshe, hands of peace, and this is a hand of war and disgust. And now, this is how he's fighting for his life. Literally for his life. Then you understand how we are so much involved in both politics and diplomacy, because people have started seeing what we done, what we do, and where we stand. And then you understand there's a lot to be done in what we call the Middle East. They claim Iran is a hand of blah blah, as just Mr. You can change the screen, Rick. Is doing, but what happened with all this line after line of new weapons came up, and they thought, no, when the West is going to open their hand and Iran never supplied anything, in a way, these people have become wise, share technology and build their own. And this is where we see change of policies in the Middle East. And diplomacy has a different ways of doing it. And we have to be in diplomacy and the finances of diplomacy rather than in the politics of it. And we'll see, next 60 days, he has to find a solution for the hostages. He has to find a compromise for Gaza. And from the Iranian side, we are safeguarding our interests with the Americans. We have our own ways of doing things. And as I said, by March 2025, we'll see the Americans in Iran, and we'll see Iranians in America on the diplomacy level. We are not innocent people, and we are not silent people, but we are a nation of 2,500 years of what we call ruling. We know how to handle. And we see peace now. It's become that phase of peace with Trump. The biggest problem is the world moves from gun policy to economical policy, which is the bigger problem. Not having wars, but opening the doors of economical sanctions and limitations. And this will bring limitation inside US more than for outside US. And if it's not handled the right way, the ideologists of no war, the ideology of no debts, needs to bring a condition of consumers and people to consume, or create what we call the policy of the digital monetization, which means you just change the wages money package to numbers in the bank accounts. Nobody can rob no one. You call on what you need, you're paid, and the people receive it, and they pay what they need. And the prices could not be indicative of the actual goods, but in how much it makes policy peace. In the West, we are getting used to it in past 10, 15, 20 years. It's called the fair trading in agriculture. Fair trading in agriculture is very simple. European farmer needs, let's say, 25 euro per kilo for beef, just to maintain the animal, to grow it. And then he needs 20% for his living. So you're looking at about 30, 32, 35 euro per kilo for beef. In the supermarket, you pay maybe 15, but you don't know what you get. But to what now our parents for thousands of years lived on the land, what we call biologically, now we pay heavy for it to get what our grandfathers had it free. We call it biomaterials, beefs or whatever. So us have to pay that 32 for the farmer to be able to look after the land and the farm and everything else. And then, or you go to the supermarkets at 15, 20 euro a kilo, which is all subsidized, and they got all back, whatever, all call it chemicals and everything else to cover mass production. We will go more towards the sector for the countries like America, because first of all, they won't have the public or workers to do it. Secondly, the cost will change heavily as Americans cannot export. You got to understand, sanctions works, tariffs works when you can do it yourself and you can export yourself. When you have snookered yourself on both sides, the problems is down the line. Farmers cannot sell what they produce, and people can't afford what the farmers produce need to survive. And then we'll see the structure we see today. And this goes back to politics of Middle East. And we'll see good position, but we have to see how this new administration juggles between foreign policy, internal policy, supporting Israel, and at the same time being open to mistakes the Israelis have made and how it can be corrected. It's all interconnected, because the Chinese are delivering a huge number of weapons everywhere. Everybody needs it. Even they claim to be a peaceful state.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. Can I ask a second and final question?
Yep.
I was wondering what is the connection between what is happening in that region of Syria and Lebanon and what is happening in Georgia and South Korea?
Totally irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. You got to understand the revolution, or what you call it, claiming martial law in South Korea is the same situation. He had to withdraw his martial law and or retract and go back or whatever. He is in the same situation as Netanyahu in Israel. He's one of the most unpopular leaders. And he's brought a lot of mess into the system. And he was actually he was inspired by Trump to come up with this leftist communist. We heard, I think he had a dream and he got up and he did it. We heard this one in the election cycle of the United States. He accused the left as to be communist in a way and gave him the right to bring this thing in. I think he'll be, we'll see how they handle it. But it's a one-man dictatorship, and it doesn't have much room, as we saw within the structure of the South Korean structure. It was all fake, and it's all fake things, but the military has to abide by the president. This is their problem. And one of the most stable nations in the world suddenly has a dreamer who wants to do things. You see, the problem with us, even in Ukraine, is some people who have no understanding of the politic get to the position of power. We see in Ukraine, a comedian has become literally taking the whole world for comedy with the Ukrainian war. He thought he's a laughing stock for this cost nearly 1 million life. And now he's negotiating for asylum with Germany. He's negotiating with asylum with the United Kingdom before he even get outlawed. Just 9-10 billion richer. He was happy if he makes $9 a week. Now he's got 9 billion in account. The Syrian situation was on the card. You got to understand, Rothschild and the rest are after Syrian central bank. The whole target is central bank. Syria, those of you who don't know, is one of the most center of the knowledge culture of Arab nations. It's a capital of the culture, has been for centuries, and with it has collected some of the most rarest assets. No one knows what sits in the Syrian central bank gold reserve. No one knows. The same with Iran. We have collected 2,500 years. Even when it's emptied, it's still full. And that's the target. The last 3 central banks which have not been taken over by the Rothschild, Syria, Iran and North Korea, and they're all rogue nations because they don't give up their national assets. But as I said, you will see changes in the next few months, and directly influenced by the technology and knowledge. You will understand, as I said, I don't speak much. I've been told to hold my horses, but you will see the changes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. We look forward to the changes. And
I'm working 24 hours a day, and many other people like us that are literally working 24 hours a day. It is.
We are with you.
We are all with each other. We have a window of opportunity, maybe 4 months, 5 months, to bring a change. And bring a change. We're just hitting the right administration, the politician, everything else. But the aftermath is we have to put a solution on the table. And the solution for 1.5 million highly paid intellectual people in different countries is a space. We don't have the facilities on this. And we have to give man another hobby, another thing to be busy with. Development technologies beyond the weapon, but in a space. And equal opportunity for all nations, from Africa to Europe to America to what we call Asia. Stealing technology has to become a thing of the past. Sharing technology has to become the norm of the day. And this is what we got to do. And beautifully, with you knowledge seekers across the world, as I said to one of the world leaders very recently, says, you cannot tie my hand. I have companies in China, in Europe, in America, and I don't need permission to transfer my technology from one to another. Talk to us in a language that I do not transfer the space technology of Iran to the United States. I do not transfer the transmutation from one to another. I don't supply America with the rare earth materials which America is suffering now with the ban on China. So let's talk a language. Technology will bring that change, but you have to have a listening and a participating nations to do it. Americans have created a big hole for themselves with this new tariff business and everything else. But there's a way out of it, because it's going to bring 4 or 5 million people unemployed in the United States, up to 25 million unemployed in the next 12 months. And the beauty of it is all highly intellectual. 20% of them scientists. You give them a job to get themselves into space, you give them new hope, new direction, or you keep on printing digits in the bank accounts just to keep them quiet. I had this discussion with our beautiful John, bless his soul. He said, I come from the aircraft, the space industry. There is no future. Once your technology takes over, what are we going to do? At least I came out earlier, I had time to enjoy it. And we have to not just say we can, we have to open new horizons in technology. This is why even today's teaching, I opened a discussion on first line of understanding of new systems, new technologies, the research to be done, emotional computers. You have no chips. You're in the space, how are you going to repair your chip or your computer? Because you can transfer energy to its quantum size, what you call a small size, gases, and then build your computer anywhere in the universe. You don't need to come and get material from the Chinese who can ban you. So all these bring researchers, brings new technologies, and with it brings new ways of even us financing our lifestyle. We always get 5–10% abusers, without a doubt. But the other 80–90% want to expand on the knowledge, on the technologies. And we have to bring an alternative, and alternative is new technology in the space. And in new technologies, we still have people making yogurt using the cow milk and the sheep skin. We can't stop making butter that way. But we still have advanced technologies which you don't need to do anything with it, but you can get all the emotions, feelings of it. Any other question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome, Doctor. Thank you very much for all your help and support.
My pleasure.
Okay, we still have a hand up with Dankin here. I'm not sure if you can speak, Dankin. Go ahead if you can. Give you a few seconds there. Still not opening the mic. Okay, that's fine. Let's go to our Middle East connection, Mehran, who happens to be here for this part of the discussion. Hello, Mehran. Can you go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much for all your hard work and your love. And I wish everything very soon has a happy end. I have a question regarding some workshop which you said that in space there is no female and males. And I read in Hollywood that says God created the skies and earth, and we created you on earth in couples, and we created you as man and woman. So if we say that what's in micro is in macro in the plan of creation, If on Earth it works this way, why not in space? I can understand the affinity between no sex identities, but how can these difference create attraction to the other one to create a child?
If you look at what we got used to, the human language science of sperm and egg, chromosomes and the rest of it, one is more than the other one, just by single. Translating into language of the science of plasma, that one extra means unbalance, which means it's giving for the other one to receive, and that creates cycle of absorbing energy. In the universe, when we add from two races, different plasmas, they cannot match. And subsequently, if I'm prepared to put part of my plasma and you're prepared to put part of your plasma, whoever you are in the universe, leads to creation of cycle of life. Do we need to create a male and a female to it? Put a name on it. And if you add it in another dimension, you should be able to understand the virgin birth. Now understanding the technology of science of plasma, does virginity has anything to do with giving birth? Most probably, most of the children of space are from virgin birth, because there's no womb, there's no physical interaction. The way the daughter of Mitra has been created. The children of Mitra is the only way you can do. You don't need to go to, sorry, it's a plasma. When you have egg and a sperm in coming together, who's what, who gave what, which one is the male, which one is the female? It's just energy packs. They have no names. They have no identity as a male and a female. They're two plasmas. And the balance between the fields, energy, allows to not to create. In a way, I answered this to a doctor some time ago. If you understand the way we understand or explain the world of creation in the womb of the mother, then you don't need test tube babies. You don't need surrogacy of the baby in the womb. If you understand why the reason behind a woman cannot conceive even there is an egg and a sperm, you change the field strength of the womb, same in the sperm can be fertile. The womb has energy above the egg and has the energy above the sperm and drains on them. And that's why if you change the acid, if you change, you call it acid, if you change the environment of the womb, field strength, any egg and the sperm can create child. There is a difference between the womb and the stomach. And the only difference is the energy. The womb of the mother creates, that liquid in the womb of the mother creates salinity for everything in according to what is needed to create the liver, the kidney, the brain, and the rest of it. If you look at the structure of the fetus, how it starts, and measure the salinity, whole mixture of the salinity of the womb of the mother, you see it changes. It's the salinity of the womb of the mother which dictates which part of the womb of the embryo is produced, converted to. Everybody looks at this fetus, so much is there, then it's got arms, then it gets legs, then it gets heart. No science has ever measured the salinity and the combination of the salinity within the womb of the mother. That's what dictates what to produce. And it's got nothing to do with DNA. And when we understand these things, you can create from two energy packs, give it an environment, any creatures, anywhere in the universe. There is no need for creating a virgin birth, which is a confirmation of the life in the universe. In fact, the children of the Mitra, children of the universe, are created in the womb of the universe. The children of the man are in the womb of the mother, environment. They need to grow. Children of Mitra have the whole universe and universal energy and the knowledge, because they have no womb, they have no containment. They create their own containment. And that's why they're such a wise people. Because we limit everything we have, from the color of our eye to our intelligence, according to what is said within the womb of the mother and what we add later on. The children of the Mitra, born in the universe, they have no womb. And they tap in the universal knowledge and technology and everything else for their survival. When we understand this, then we understand the process of creation and how things have been put into mysticism of life and a lot of other things in different religion, because you keep on referring a lot into what is in the Bible. If even you read Bible and connects the dimensions of the tree of life with all the connections with one structure, gives you an amazing figure, which is 33. And end of knowledge came, completion from the soul to physicality came from the top of the tree of life to the root of it, which has a shape of cross with the 5 pins, and number 33, which is all brings Christianity is built on mysticism. Understanding the cycle of life has been translated into the language of the man understanding as a religion. You draw as 1 to 10 tree of life, which is 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to the top. Then count the connections, see the structure, and the numbers, it comes to 33. Wise men have created a religion to fit everything. They had a man, they built the rest around it the way they wanted it.
Thank you. Then it comes to my mind, so this child has the characteristics of the parents, we can say in human, the parents. Like we have
Some of it, yes, but it's accumulation of the universal energy and knowledge. Some of it, yeah.
So like the race or
some of it are. We are created out of accumulation of a lot of fields and how they position themselves.
Is it possible that with knowledge man can create children in this way as they want?
It's already been created. Child of Mitra is amongst us. And secondly, there many, many people will come to it because, as you say, the light has been ignited. It will enlighten the others to do. Planet Earth started with 1, then became 2, and now 8 billion, and continuously renewed. It's a cycle which we have to understand.
And what's happening on Earth is happening in the universe as or a cycle.
Earth is such a small thing in the structure of universe that, but the pattern is the same. You have fields and you have interactions, and you have an outcome out of the interaction. You have single interactions or multiple integrated systems interact continuously, and they lead to certain type of a structure, life.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go back and read details in the pattern number 1 of the Keshe Foundation. The intrigues of life as a system is set in the combination of different claims. You create an aircraft which has emotion. You create a house which goes with your emotion, doesn't need a sensor. It feels your emotion, you're hot, you're cold. The house is becoming aggressive, so changes the environment of the aggression. You grieve, it changes the position that you don't suffer. This in emotional structures is the future of human race, does not matter where it is. We've seen this in plants. The plants change their structure, their communication, their leaves according to the emotion of the house. You take a plant in a house which is always fight and whatever sorrows, take the same plant in a house where is life and happiness. You see the plant changes. A lot of research has been done on this because it works on what we call communication line of the life, what we call carbon 13 today. Does not connect to the man, but it uses the emotion and building structures, building environments, building systems which follow and use this technology or the knowledge of creation. It'll become part of our lives. The beauty with what in our discussions with those who are in the path of peace is this: let's bring new technologies, keep people busy with new technology, create new economies, new business of people being busy in the dimension of the world peace, creating tools to create comfort for, and then governments facilitate it in that way. Chinese government will lose heavily on this. We will see Chinese economy collapsing within the next few years if the new policies of the combined 2-3 nations which we are involved in take shape. We build nations and connections on the need to bring pleasure and life and not wars. You have to dismantle a structure from the base, and to dismantle it is to show there is no need for it, and itself by itself disappears. There is no need for monarchy, nobody needs to be higher than him, and there is no need for Rothschilds that the money needs to control. When everybody has access to what it is, what is needed, and is respected. You come to my shop, you want an apple, You created an account with $1 million in it, and you want 10 apples, I give you 10 apples, and I pay with the same thing. What do you call it? The same structure.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless you.
Very much. I've received a notice from the administration of the Keshe Foundation. I have to read it for you. This goes directly to Mr. Babu of the Romania. You're a criminal. We have seen you. You have started selling systems and telling people that 5% goes to Keshe Foundation. We ask the Romanian community to report Mr. Babu to the police for direct investigation. We warn you once or twice. He starts selling systems which is making people sick and telling that connects them to celestial people using the Keshe Foundation platform. We are receiving a number of reports on you, Mr. Babu. We ask the Romanian community to take immediate action against this gentleman and his wife. And this gentleman has nothing to do with the Keshe Foundation. He attached himself to use our name in Romania, creating massive damages. And in due course, we will take action. I'll pay a visit to Romania very soon to put this matter directly with the police, because this action of this gentleman is beyond the limitation of understanding. We will ask the criminal lawyer to take action against you, Mr. Babu. We never done this, but you have passed the line. You're damaging and you're creating a lot of problem. I receive daily reports on your behavior, more or less, from the community in Romania. And the Romanian community have to take action and bring this to an end. Sorry about this. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have a couple of questions from Desi here, and a couple of more in the Q&A as well, if you can bear with us here. You see, Desi says, in regards to the line of communication with the carbon-14, says, Dear Mr. Keshe, does it mean that people who can connect with souls of people who are no longer in a physical state can also use this communication line of the carbon-14?
Carbon-14 is a connection line. It's what I call the vehicle. And if you have field strength dimension of gravity and magnetic field of it, you can dictate the position you want to be connected to. It's as simple as that. This is what gives me a lot of joy with if we can bring the Iranian scientists and American scientists and the Chinese, which they have a habit of stealing. You can't help with Chinese. There's a saying in Belgium, they say if a Dutchman doesn't steal from you, it's not that he didn't mean to, he just forgot. This truly applies to the Chinese scientists, Chinese military and the rest. If they don't steal from you, it's just they forgot. It's the habitual stealing is their work. And if we can bring that nobody needs to steal from no one, then we can reach a position to create that dimension of communication that we all do not need to do anything wrong. And that brings what I call, you call it the chakra, I call in a way connecting, but with the carbon-14 you connect the universe. energy levels of the certain position and physical dimension. With what I call carbon-13 or communication line, you connect with the citizens of, not the location of. Location is location, there as it is. Before I forget, many of you who are the followers of the certain path of Christianity, tomorrow is a beautiful day for St. Nicholas, for the children of man. We wish all of you a happy birthday and a beautiful day tomorrow. Those of you who follow this path and enjoy the time of St. Nicholas for your children. And because this is the seed where we see the joys of happiness and sharing and giving. And children need to be nourished in that way. Any other question?
Yes, from Lisnu, who says, what happens with those who use this knowledge to build tools to harm or destroy an environment? What can be done with those tools to bring peace?
With this knowledge, whatever you do ends up to be good. Whatever you do ends up to be good, to do good. Plasma technology is the ethos of what I call meter. Do good, think good, and act good. Whatever you do with it, it ends up good. Because it doesn't have the essence of the emotions of the man in it. It has the benefit of the soul of the Creator. So don't worry about it.
Okay. We have a hand up with Claudia, but before we get to that, I'd like to address Gail's question here in the Q&A. She has a question regarding the C60, and it goes like this. Regarding the C60, a crystal, also called a buckyball, named after Buckminster Fuller, creator of the geodesic dome buildings, it can contain the volume of a universe. Does this mean many C60 crystals are needed to make a shell to surround the available space for our universe, or one crystal of the correct energy field level, a principal field energy in the center which unwinds to contain a universe? Same question applied to the skin. Each pore of the skin is a C60 crystal, or one crystal with principal field energy unwinding?
I think Rick can answer you that question.
I can? Okay.
You remember I said something that one atom can fill up the whole universe?
Right. Well, you mentioned about the hydrogen atom, for example, in space has an active radius of over a meter, and because there's at least one hydrogen atom in every cubic meter of space, and quite often quite a bit more, then they're all connected, essentially. You could look at it that way.
If you understand the work of the plasma and understand the levels of the fields of the plasma, one of the field strengths, the spectrum of one plasma of hydrogen, can cover the whole of the universe, can expand. And in a way, every other spectrum of the field of this plasma, in their interaction, leads to creation of the galaxies, the stars, and everything else we know. So if we change that single plasma, that at a given field strength, as it has a spectrum, will be this, we can cover the whole of the universe, then we call that the soul of the creator. As it's a common denominator, everything is within it. So one single plasma has filled our universe at a given strength, which is the love of the creator. Emotion is a field. Anything we create, we touch, we feel, has to have a field strength. So to create that single crystal, which is one of its own in the dimension of the energy, but in the interaction with its own sub-strength fields, create the tangible dimension, what we call carbon-60, because it's the origin of itself, is the soul of the creator and manifestation of the creator in dimension of physicality. That's why he's everywhere, because we are part of it, we created out of it a different strength of it. Then this should answer your question. This is why I explained between hydrogen and helium, you call it 1 and 2, there's a huge spectrum that has 1.11111, 1.11112, 1.11113, and then you have to go 1.1 blah, 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 1. So if we come out of the matter state and call it 1 electron, 1 proton, and then hydrogen or helium, and then isotopes of it, and work on the energy level, you don't need more than one cell to create a whole lot, because everything else fills in between the 0 and 1 spectrum with the center is controlled, and body can expand. I always compare things because it makes sense in a way to do it. If you stand on some shores, you see some fishermen. They hold a net and they throw a net, and the net is circular and it has a center, and the net falls, and then they pull the net up and you have a ball of fish in it. That net is the universe, and the fish is the man, which created within it, holds, lives within it. And then the creator is the one who pulls out the string and pulls it out when it needs to. And if you understand this, it makes life very easy to understand the process of creation. Everything is within, and depends what we select as part, and what we pull to be part of, to pull in.
Sort of, I guess it depends whether we're the fish or the one pulling the string on the net.
Stands.
Different point of view entirely.
Yeah. And depends how big is the hole of the net, what fish is allowed to go through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That it has time to grow another dimension cycle of life.
Now, you've mentioned in the past about the spaceship configuration for space, and about the layering of the skin for the spaceship, or the protective layer for the spaceship, which might, go exist out in space in front of the ship or something like that.
We have already produced this as a material conversion. So
is that related to what we were just speaking of, with the idea of either the carbon-60 or the carbon-13, perhaps?
You see,
12, 13, 14, are those the 3 layers that we're talking about?
When we speak about carbon-60, in the theology of the understanding, is the energy which creates manifestation. You understand? And in respect to its environment, and how that environment manifests itself, and how Carbon-60 manifests itself to be in that environment, the skin of the man, the size of our universe. We know we have a universe because there must be an empty space or another space in it that it confirms is part of something. This is what the modern science does not touch because we don't have an answer for. Now we blank it out. They say our universe has such a diameter. Yes, if it has, what's enough that you're measuring it? Otherwise, you cannot measure it. It cannot have a size. It has to go to infinity, and you never see the end of it. This is so. If it has that dimension, it has an energy which creates that dimension, and it's not a ballpoint you tap at it and it's always there. Is the dimension of dynamic structure of the field of it, which gives it that what we call carbon-60. Carbon-60 is not something that is a net, is an energy field which every part of it is part of itself. Created by, connected by, related by itself. And if in the process of doing it, being there continuously, comes into other subdivisions of itself because of the interaction of the past, leads to creation of a new cycle, new energy package, new plasmas, new environments. Call it the galaxy, call it the star, call it the life of the man, call it the cell in the body of the man. It's all the same. The limitation comes on your understanding and not to the power of the creation. Creation is limitless, and a combination of his interactions are limitless. Man has been so, due to his knowledge, to his lack of understanding and the tools, has limited everything to 100 and odd elements. There is no limitation in the cycle of creation and in the elements which create that creation and the universe. Especially when you go to the energy level. And if you understand this, the science of the creation becomes so simple. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Let's hear from Claudia now. Go ahead, Claudia.
Oh, hello, Rick. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Yesterday we are discussing a lot about the microplastics, and one of the questions I want to ask you is, in the medical part, we know that the microplastics inside of our body is similar to the hormones. And we listened to yesterday your public teachings 395 about the hormones and the substances. And I'd like to know if we do like nano against of microplastics, how can I know if I will be good or worse? I don't know how I can measure the microplastics inside of me. So that's my question.
There is no measurement for it. There's a very beautiful test nowadays on the on the internet. Sorry about that. They take a chicken nugget, which all the children love to eat and a lot of adults do, and another one takes a fish finger, and they literally dissect these two little things which our children eat every day. And when they put it on the microscope, the amount of microplastic in this, in different shape or form, in one little sample of a chicken nugget, is so huge that it shows that we are literally feeding our children from young age with this now. It's become part of us. There is no measurement to it because we continuously absorb it. We are hopefully sending out this micro plastic things for gases out in the next few days, hopefully. And then we wait for the response. Change of emotion, change of physicality, change of taste, change of habits. And the reason we specifically targeted this for the head part is because when you change that in the headquarters, the body will reject it too. We want to know what you feel on your skin. How do you feel the texture change? Do you see anything on your skin? Because the command says we don't need it, it's been rejected. Would the rest of the body start rejecting it on the skin? There is a structure that body, especially in your digestion system, we see this in some magic shows, but in real life, scientifically exists. I know one closely, which cannot be denied. If, for example, in your food, you eat, let's say, the seed of an apple. In eating a bone, you eat the cartilage, which is different structure. After a few minutes, or after half an hour, the body rejects it. Because there's a mindset to it that the body has been preset not to accept anything which is not a certain condition. You swallow a coin, don't reject the coin. You don't need to trigger it. You don't even know you ate it. You don't even know you had the seed of the apple. Because it's set in the structure of the, what do you call it, the brain. And there's a reason for it, it happens. We understand that process, and so we set it up that way. Originally, this test was done years ago by a couple of doctors with us to see if we can get a shrapnel out of near the heart. Without actually, because they can't do the operation, but it's dangerous where it is. So, do we go physically for it, or do we set the fields for it not to be accepted to be what it is? And these microplastics can be measured to be taken out, but we continuously absorb them in food, in air we breathe, in clothes we wear. And some of the energies, because we have the amino acid combination, and we put the container like the womb of the mother I explained, created themselves inside the body of the man from surplus energies of it. It's not that we are all taking the microplastic outside from the clothes. We create that field plasma, and that field plasma in the back and the front of your body as your shirt, which carries, creates a field interaction, is in touch with your sweat, now is part of the gans, is not the cloth on the body of the man anymore. So inside your body is made of the plastic, made of certain type of combination. It replicates inside the body of the man. This is why I say don't wear synthetic plastic. We've seen how these synthetic cloth, especially for sports people, are affecting the psychology and the body and the whole rashes on the bodies of the people. The brands don't come and tell you, well, this is what we are doing, but it looks good, I look good in front of the girls, I wear this on. Yes, you made a cocoon of producing nanomaterials, GANs materials, plastic materials inside you. This is what, it's not all, but we created a condition. We're testing now that we can use the fabrics, we can use the environment to create a condition of withdrawal of a certain field strength of these materials. And is effective because we know it has worked before. Change your, watch your emotion. Those of you who bought this material, that's why it's a trial. Send us the information. Has your eating habit changed? Have your emotional habit changed? Has your physical appearance changed? We are now working on new gas structure on the middle layer where you can get your original color of your hair back. If you come white and gray, goes back to the original. You don't have any more gray hairs. We are working on this research and it'll be, once completed, if I tell you we got a hair gans, you know what it is. Growing it is different than coloring it. Because a lot of women who are black would like to be blonde because guys look at the blondes more than the blacks, but they don't know the guy doesn't like it. It's just nice to see something different. Can we change the field strength to create a permanent blonde? And then in a few years' time, when you like to be in black, because the new guy likes the black hair, you change the field strength. Because it's all field strength dependent. We have developed this material, it's going through trial at the moment. Then we touch the emotion, not chemical interaction. Wood is part of this microplastic, playing games in it, most probably does. You should be able to measure it, but you will be consume so much of it every day. It's become part of us, especially clothing, creating microplastic directly in our body, by our own body for surplus energy in a plasma form is 100% correct. Because we are in a womb of the clothing, which is chemically active with your own sweat, with your own fat. When you sweat and you see this fat on your body and you wear the clothes of synthetic, yeah, now the boundary of your skin is not your skin anymore, it's the boundary of the clothes behind it. Because that now sits within your amino acid, is part of your gas cycle. We have one of our leading knowledge seekers, he is entangled in this. And we are looking at changing it. These sports gears just look so fancy. You'll have a lot of pansies around it when you will find out later on. Can't have children, have problem, digestive problem and the rest of it. See, you watch your children yourselves. If you wear a certain kind of thing when you go running, when you come back you don't feel hungry, you don't feel this. Where did the energy come from? You burn the energy. And look at, go running with a cotton shirt and go running with one of these fancy looking, colorful plastic or synthetic things. We need to be educated, and education has to come without prejudice. Any other questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome. Watch, if you have children, watch your children don't wear these fancy synthetic things, cotton, wool, the new wood mixtures which are coming into underwear, they're fantastic. A little bit expensive, but you protect. And we done the research on, what do you call it, Teflon waters, which is done for the Italian government. And 9 cancers in it. If you're a woman, if you're somebody in the house, just throw the Teflons into the bin. throw your chopping boards, plastic chopping boards, get a wood one. Okay, maybe a bit slightly expensive, but especially if you have girls in the house, young girls, throw these what do you call Teflon plated, coated things away, because then you have CPS and all the other diseases which makes them infertile and emotionally damaged, because it's part of it, touches the hormones. CPOS is one of them. Directly we see research shows. You buy a steel pan, heat it up, put oil on it, get it to the burn, let it out, put the cold water on it, it becomes as good as Teflon as you ever had. You make it, what do you call it, non-stick, but the stick is sticks, it just goes out very quickly. If you have children around the house, throw any non-stick out. You pay a little bit more for a steel, not aluminium, but you save your children from a lot of problems in the future.
Can you do that? Thank you.
Pardon?
I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah, we got to do. We see it. In my house, you don't find any Teflon. My house don't see any plastic boards. I become wise to it, and it costs a little bit, but you do. Even these what are called soft licking materials to clean the bottom of the pan. It's hot pan when you do it, so you melt it back in. It's not going back to nature. You're understanding the new cycle, how much we can at least help ourselves to it. Any other question? What shall we call it?
We've got well, two more questions, if you can bear with us a little bit here. Gerhard says, in the last lessons, you, Mr. Keshe, made it very clear once again that our mother, the Earth, absorbs the fields from the universe and chews them up before we humans obtain over 60% of our food from these chewed up energies. Don't we humans, as space travelers, also have to learn to chew up the universal fields because our Earth Mother is not there? Or do we
That's
have
the job of your soul. That's the job of your soul. Don't worry about it. It's well done.
the other was, do we have to look for a surrogate mother who takes over the rechewing and pre-digestion of the fields? So in a way, our soul is the mother.
Yeah. Our soul is the same. It's the seed. It's the earth.
Then that leads to Lisno's question, and that will complete, except for a question about the wellness test. Can you please explain what is soul elevation, how to imagine this, and how to do this effectively? Thank you.
Can you repeat that, please?
Can you please explain what is soul elevation, how to imagine this, and how to do this effectively?
To do what? I don't understand.
Soul elevation, to elevate the soul.
The soul elevation comes, there are different ways of doing it. You can do it from below, or you can do it from above. In a way, elevation is increasing the strength. And then when you have a higher strength, you are aware of more of other strengths. You can tap into the universal energy, into what I call carbon-14, and or consume enough of the lower order that you pick up fragments of the higher order within them, while you're supporting the lower order for physical life. This is what we do by eating. When we eat anything, when we breathe any air we breathe, when we drink, this is what we do. 2 divisions. This is maybe time to, we have talked about this before, but maybe open an insight into it. The water we drink has 2 parts. Part which has energies which adds to your soul, and part which adds to soul of physicality, and part which goes for the physicality which we use as energy. The soul, as far as figures, they need their own energy as well, at their own given strength. The matter state, what we chew, what we swallow, has the same, creating that, releasing that energy, which part of it can be absorbed by the, what we call the soul. Then we have one which is made directly for soul, which is the air we breathe, which is less adulterated structure, conversion, but it's still in the matter state. And this is why we inhale it through our nose, directly feeding the soul, because it's connected directly to the fields of the universe. And certain ways of breathing allows you, an environment you're in, that you breathe it in, allows you to absorb certain field strength, which in process can increase the energy of the soul of the man. Watch the wise men, people with a lot of soul, and see how they breathe. And watch people who are very physically active and see how they breathe. You convert this to food of the soul, to food of physicality, to keep the life running. And you run short of breath. If you understand this, then you know how to tap, how to elevate. Learn why we raise our hands, and the shape and the way we raise our hands and the finger. Raise your hand and keep your fingers open. Raise your hand and stick your fingers together and see what emotional difference you feel. Big difference. Tell something very interesting if you have children, because they are more receptive than men. You can do it with yourself, because walk barefoot. Walk continuously with shoes. Walk continuously with the socks. Lie on your back and put legs and arms up like a dog, upside down. And lie on a carpet, lie on a floor, earth, not on the top floor, on the concrete or whatever. And feel the emotions. When you walk barefoot, the energy coming from the earth and the inertial gravitational directly interacts with the iron in your blood. Changes cholesterol, changes salinity of the blood. You keep yourselves always in the shoe and see how you feel. The energy we receive from the environment, how we absorb it, how we get it, the way we get it, has a direct effect on the structure of our emotion and of physical being. And if you ever feel stressed, take your shoes off, take your socks off, go walking on the grass. It does much better than walking on gravel, because grass has amino acid structure near you. It transfers energy. When you walk on it, when you crush it, it releases energy that it gives to your body. It changes it. You walk on the gravel, you absorb different fields. You have a huge pain in your bone structure and muscle tissues. Go on the seaside and walk on the sand while the sea is running on your feet for 1 or 2 kilometers, and then come back and do it for a couple of days and see if the pain is still there. It's not the salt, it's the energy which we receive directly, which changes the production of hormones in our body as an energy pack. And it affects you, it directly affects the energy we absorb. And the emotion is different. The field which gives within your body is not the noise of the ocean or the whatever. It's the energy which you absorb directly from earth. On the 12th floor on the concrete, there is no feeling. Go on the ground floor and walk on the sand, on the soil. Trying to make it a habit. I do that quite often. I walk barefoot quite a lot because I know what it does, what I take, what I need from it. And then you organize your body. Your body gathers information, what it needs, where it needs, how it needs. Any other question?
Okay, 2 more items. We have question about the coming wellness test, and we have a hand up with Jalal. Which would you prefer to address first?
Let's answer the question wellness, and then we go with Jalal.
Okay. From Desi, who asks, he has a question, or he or she has a question related to the Keshe Foundation coming wellness test on the 20th of December, 2024. What is this test about, and what could a person expect as a result of joining the December 2024 session? And if a person is not speaking English, can he or she participate?
First of all, we don't use any languages. It's all done by your system. If you've been in it, it's been going on for about nearly 2 years, 1.5 years. It's been a cycle of things.
I'll just interrupt that there is a basic translation of the instructions at the beginning, and then
yeah, but if you need
universal after that.
Yeah, Rafael does a very good job now. At the beginning, when I speak, he converts it to a text and he puts it there. Pick up the text and put it in your translator to any language. So language should be no problem. And secondly, usually we don't speak at all after the first 2 or 3 minutes of introduction. The whole session is yours. We control things in the background, and we see the results. You see how different groups behave, and we don't ever expect that it becomes your expectation. You decide. Your body decides, your emotion decides what will be the outcome from it. The process of these 3 months is food and wellness. And we look at your report back to us, how you felt with the food. How did you feel anything? One of our knowledge seekers is here. He can explain what happened in the last session. And there are other knowledge seekers here who wrote to us, tell us what they felt about in the last session. Some of them had a shock of their life, knowing that just using the headphone can change them so much. Now, what is your expectation? I didn't feel anything in the session, but did it change next week, the week after, the month after? Because then say, oh, I've changed this. Why wasn't there before you go through the system? You had a pain and suddenly my pain is gone. Why wasn't there for years? I didn't like broccoli, but somehow I want to test broccoli. What happened? We have a list of ingredients when we put in the food and wellness, and we don't tell you which side is the wellness, which part is a food. Then we control you. No way we're going to do that. We create, we facilitate the environment. It's you who decide. And it's you have a pain in your shoulder. Send the energy concentration in that time, in that session, that this is where it needs to be done. Why is it there? Why is it trying to tell you? Why do you have pain in fingers? Why do you have pain in toes? Why? And what changes in it? You are the captain. We just provide the ship. And this is always has been. You decide. It's very interesting. One of the knowledge seekers wrote after the last month's session. And it's amazing how precise the taste, the things they have is part of the ingredient of the material. Let's answer Jalal, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. There we go. Go ahead, Jalal, please. If you can talk now, that is.
He's busy. He put his hand up when he was free. We should have pulled him in straight away.
All right, calling Jalal once again.
He must have 4 questions. That's why he doesn't know which one to come up with first.
Well, he did have a question in the chat to the hosts and panelists. If you want to have a read of it, whether you want to address that now or not, Mr. Keshe.
Just leave that out. He's okay. There's no problem. And he's perfect.
Okay, we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
Oh, one last question about...
I talked to him about a month ago, 2 months ago. He's okay. There's no problem.
Okay, good. Elizabeth had asked, can silicone be used instead of plastic, or is it almost
the same?
Okay.
Silicon, all these synthetics, is the high temperature of them. We get a lot of these plastic containers, which we carry our food in it. This is another part of it. It's now we see steel containers coming in. We see glass containers coming in. They're expensive, but they're sometimes hard to carry. But it's there. It's just preferences what we do. But our society is full of it. We can't walk away from plastic. We carry the goods in the bag. We buy our food in the plastic bag. Freezers are all frozen goods are in plastic. It's become part of our life, but we can limit it.
And there are other forms of plastic other than from oil as well. That
everything now is connected to this CH bond.
Plastic bags can be made from alcohol rather than plastics, but they disintegrate when they get wet. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. You don't want you to get your groceries bags wet on the way home because they'll fall apart. But on the other hand, they completely dissolve in when you get rid of them.
At the moment, we have become so embroiled in this plastic business. I remember when it came in the beginning, this plastic started in around 1980s. And if you remember those days, everything was paper. And when, especially what they call it HT bags, what did you carry? Your shopping bags, shopping carrier bags you get in every supermarket. It's all high density. When they came in 1980s, early 80s, late 1979, there was a quotient of cheapness and easy to use, which broke into the market. And from then it never stopped. When originally people brought these HD bags and plastic bags from supermarkets, you pull out, they're usually in a blue package with a hole in the middle. And they're always in thousands. You buy 1,000 bags. A paper bag was £3 for 1,000. This you could buy for £1.50 for 1,000. And it pushed the shopkeepers and the others users and the ease of use. Paper bag used to get wet in the markets. If you had a fruit rotten thing on the floor, we allowed it to come in. We brought it into operation. I was involved in this in a way, and I saw the cycle of how plastic creeped into our life. One of the first companies we set up was this packaging. And it was amazing. You could sell 10,000 euro of paper bag. Now you sell 20,000 of plastic bags, and your paper bag overnight within 3-6 months disappeared.
Now here they've gotten rid of the paper and the plastic, and they have a new synthetic bag that they're selling for 10 times the price, $2 each now.
Yeah, it's very amazing.
And the other, they have a cycle here where it depends which political party's in, whether plastic is popular to support the oil industry, or paper is popular to support the wood industry, the forestry.
Yeah, there's nowadays you can buy underwear and clothing from the wood. It's very popular. Very popular.
About plastic, just to put a bug in your ear before we leave here, regarding all these plastic bags, if you think of every bag as basically that hydrogen and oxygen and carbon bond, that if you were to burn a bag, it would give off energy. These are little energy packets. If we had a reactor at home that could eat the bags and give off energy without burning, without an exhaust pipe or anything, like they have done with inside a vacuum chamber, basically with plastics, you can have it gradually deteriorate without burning and give off energy. So there must be a way. And then that way we look forward to the plastic bags. They help to heat our homes and supply various goods or whatever.
I think it'll come into innovation, these kind of things. It'll come. It's inevitable coming in. These plastic islands in the oceans will force us.
Yeah, well, they should have ships that eat up the plastic and again convert it to usable energy without the burning.
It is a menace. It is there, but you see a lot of it, and it depends on the composition of it. And we cannot go back to packaging the way it used to be with the paper and others, but we have to find a solution within this, a new composition, a new structure that does not interfere with the body, does not come into the body, and its impossibilities. Now they are trying to bring more and more natural products, like the maize production. When they take the corn, the rest of the maize after 2 corns on it or 4 corns on it went into animal food. Now they're converting some of it into fabric, into pulp, and then into threads and clothing. And Some of the major shops on the high street now promote especially underwear made from these woods. They're very comfortable, and you don't feel it, but the whole texture is different. Made of clothing made of woods, fibers. It's becoming more and more popular. I use it a lot, and you don't stay with the synthetic as so much, and it feels the same as literally wool. Softness and the pleasure it gives to wear. We just got to get adapted and just learn how to do it. It's one of the things of westernization or advancement which creates this condition. We have to find a solution for it.
Okay. Well, last chance, Jalal. Are you there? Can you unmute?
Space.
Don't see a response, so I guess you get away with it today, Mr. Keshe.
Yep. Thank you very much. See you next time, and I would like will inform you about the new what I call our chat line on what do you call the X, and we released the materials which many people were asked for us. We can't do it, can you? So the material for what we call the possibilities that might come up with the clothing is there. It has proven its worth in the what we call the time of Corona. Now is for absorption, and we can dispatch straight away most of it because it's part of our stock. We have produced this in stock in mass for nuclear accidents. So it's been offered, if you remember, we offered this to IAEA in the case of any nuclear damages to the reactors in Ukraine due to accident or whatever.
Do you want me to show that image from Dean, or have you seen that yet?
I prefer not to, because we don't know what they might pick on it. You know how these people are. They are very touchy with the Keshe Foundation. But I've seen it's a beautiful job he's done, but you have to look at the evil side of what people think. Thank you very much for today, and I hope I opened a new insight in your life, in the universe, and where you are in your environment. Thank you very much, Rick, and see you next week.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for going a little bit over time here today and answering all the questions. And thank you, everybody, for being here and enjoying our Knowledge Seekers Workshop number 567 here on Thursday, December 5th, 2024. Okay, our next public teaching workshop will be, let me have a look here, we have on Monday coming up the public meeting for testimonials, and it's Monday, December 9th. It'll start at 8 p.m. Central European time, and if you have any testimonials of the plasma technology, that's an excellent opportunity to share it with the world. And it's open to the public for those who would like to attend. Then on Tuesday, we have the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace with members of the Universal Council, and that program starts at the 4 p.m. Central European Time. All right, I think that's it for announcements for now. Again, thanks everyone for being here, and we'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit, and bye for now.